I'm Rob Skinner, and this is the Rob Skinner Podcast. Today I talked to Ben and Brooke Mey, a young church planting couple from Australia. Ben and Brooke talk about what they've done to start a new church since the Orlando conference last summer, and how they've had 11 baptisms so far since they planted the church in February of this year, 2023. All this and more on the Rob Skinner Podcast. Welcome back to the Rob Skinner Podcast. My goal is to inspire you to live a no-regrets life, make this life count, and multiply disciples, leaders, and churches. Hey, guess what? The Climb Conference is around the corner, November 30th in Dallas, Texas. I really hope you're going. It's going to be awesome. We've got amazing speakers from all over the world. It's going to knock your socks off. I mean, you're going to go and you're going to go, man, I'm so lucky I didn't miss this. And so please go to robskinner.com if you haven't registered already. The price goes up at the end of August, so please get registered as soon as possible. It's going to be a total blast. I'm really excited about this next couple that I'm talking to. Brooke and Ben Mey are young church planters from down under in Australia. I met Ben last summer at the Orlando conference, and he stopped me in kind of the entrance area where all the vendors were outside of the main hall. And he said, hey, can I talk to you for a second? And I said, sure. And he said, hey, I'm planting a church. Do you have any advice for me? And I said, well, read my book on how to plant and grow a church. And he said, okay, I'll do that. But I was fired up because Ben, the guy looked like about 14. I just thought, this guy is so young. I thought, this is awesome. Someone who's really young, going for it. Just in talking to him before the interview, they've already had 11 baptisms, and they just started this year. They started in February, like less than 6 months ago. And so it's really, really inspiring what's going on there. So I really look forward to talking to them today. Ben and Brooke, welcome to the program.
Thanks.
Thanks for having us.
This is awesome. It's great to have you guys here. Now, it was great to meet you last summer. Now, Brooke, we didn't get to meet last summer, but it's great to meet you by Zoom, and it's great to have you here. I just got asked this right off the bat. Are you guys going to the Climb Conference in November?
I'm going, and I'm bringing my little Timothy. So this little guy called Freeman's coming.
Okay. That's awesome. Brooke, I wish you could go too. Hopefully you can find a way to get there. Well,
I wish I could. Unfortunately, we're having our first child in just under 2 weeks, so I won't be able to go.
What? You don't even look pregnant. This is crazy. You look fantastic.
Oh, thank you so much.
Oh my God. I didn't even know that you're pregnant. That's fantastic. Oh my gosh. Well, thanks for being on the program, and congratulations. How'd you guys become Christians?
So I got converted in 2014. I was a bit naughty. I was, doing what most people do when they're like 20, going out and getting on it and stuff. And my mom was working with a disciple called Tina, and she was pretty upset about some of the decisions I was making in life. And she would cry to Tina and talk to her. And then Tina actually said, like, hey, why don't you get your son to go to church and get right with God? And then Mum presented that to me. I wasn't very interested, but after months of her kind of wearing me down, I finally decided, all right, maybe I should check out the Bible, see what it says. And I didn't really know what a Bible study was. So I rocked up and I said, oh, hey guys, how's it going? They did it. And I said, all right, see you later. And then they said, oh, whoa, how about we do this again next week? And the week after. And that, it was like an ongoing thing. And then I remember the second study, I came prepared to say I'm not doing this again, but it was about the word of God. And I was really convicted by it. I thought, oh, wow, this is actually cool. Maybe I should keep doing it. And yeah, I got baptized when I was 20 years old.
20 years old. Okay. So how old are you now?
29.
Oh, you're 20 now. Okay. You just look super young. Plus you got that surfer look, the long,
Long
hair
curls.
kind of crazy. You definitely have
Yeah.
that, Australian surfer look going big time. Okay.
Jeez.
All right. So, okay. One more question. What's rucked up? I don't know what that means.
Rocked up?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. That means like
Arrived.
Arrived.
Okay. All right. That's an expression I'm not familiar with. Okay. Okay, good.
Sorry, I got
Ben speaks Australian.
I speak a funny English.
How about you, Brooke?
So I grew up in the Sydney church, and I was always quite liked church. I had friends there. I was in year 8 at school, so I was 14 years old. And my best friend at the time, she started studying the Bible. And I remember thinking to myself, oh, I need to get baptized before she does, so I better ask to study the Bible as well. and so I went to my mom and I said, Mom, I feel really convicted. I really need to get to know God better. And my mom rolled her eyes at me and said, okay, well, sure, because she knew that my friend was studying and she knew I was competitive. And so she said, well, you need to go set that up then. So I did. I went and asked one of my friend's moms to study the Bible with me. And I started off thinking it would just be like a fun way to show how much I knew about the scriptures, how holy I was. And I quickly realized, oh my goodness, this is actually, I really need this. So then I started taking it seriously. And so I got baptized when I was, 14 just started high school.
Wow. Okay. And how old are you, may I ask?
Oh, I'm 29 as well.
You're 20. Okay. So how did you get involved with this bad boy? Just, kind of coming off the street there. You're raised in church. He's wild child coming into church. Okay. How did you guys get together?
So when I can't remember. I had a car accident when I was 24 and I had to get off work for a couple months. And Mike Fontenot, the church leader at the time, invited me to go to staff meeting. And then that kind of led to me going into the ministry. And then we weren't in the same ministry. I was in the singles and she was in campus. And then we went into teens together. And that was wild. That was a wild ride.
So I was working as a nurse at the time. I'd graduated. And they needed more teen leaders. So I said, yes, I'll do that. And the first time we really met was when we had to organize an event together. And at first it wasn't great. We sat down and Ben had some, he had some strong corrections for me on how long it took for me to get back to his text messages and how disorganized I was. And I remember sitting down with the Chelsea, the team leader, the next day and saying, I can't work with him. He's so intense. You wouldn't believe it. He just challenged me straight up. But then over the next months, we did actually work quite well together. And as I got to know Ben better, I realized there was more to him than just the intensity of our first conversation. But I actually really was very interested in him for about a year before he was interested in me. So that was a very emotional time for me.
And then, we set up this date. So I remember being like, I want to give this a crack. I want to see if, we'll work out. So after some Zoom meeting, I was like, hey, I'm going to take you on a special date. Do you understand what I mean? And she's like, yeah, kind of. And then I was like, I'm going to take that as a yes. I'm going to pick you up this time, this day, and we'll do this great date. And I put like a lot of effort into it. We were going to go up the mountains, apple picking, do a picnic, and it was going to be great. It was going to be like, this is this is how I'm going to figure out whether this is the girl for me. And the date didn't go great. I popped my shoulder out when I was trying to pick an apple. And then I felt like Brooke wasn't sympathetic towards me. I'll be like a lot of pain. We're an hour and something away from a hospital. And I was furious. I was like, you know, this is the worst. This is a sign from God. We're not supposed to be together. I was cracking it. But then we sat down, I don't know, a week later or something.
Yeah, we talked it through.
We had another go at a date, and the next date went
a lot better.
Way better.
Because I was so nervous going into this date because I'd liked him for a year, and then suddenly out of the blue he says, I want to take you on this special date. I want to get to know you better. And I was, oh my goodness, I was so excited. I was so nervous. And then he dislocates his shoulder, and I just went into nurse mode because I was working as a nurse, and I just, oh, okay, look at that. You've popped your shoulder out. All right, well, let's look at the nearest hospital, get in the car, you're fine. And just zero sympathy. And so I had to learn how to.
Wow. So yeah. Okay, so you guys was there a long engagement? When did you guys get married?
So we got married in July 2021. So we dated for 8 months, and then we were engaged for about 3. We had organized our entire wedding, and then Sydney went into lockdown because of COVID. And so what we ended up doing was having a little tiny ceremony in Ben's backyard with his roommates, my roommates, our families on Zoom. And Mike and Tess were our celebrants, and they drove down. They got permission to come and officiate the wedding. And we had this tiny little ceremony to get married in 2021. And then 1 year later, we got to have our big reception celebration where I wore my wedding dress. My dad walked me in, and but yes, it was a wild time.
Wow. Wow. Right during the middle of COVID. Oh my gosh. Because Australia had a very restrictive policy, right? Like 0 cases or something like that.
Yeah.
They went well for a while, and then Melbourne went into the biggest lockdown.
Yeah, it was rough for them.
They had it real tough.
Yeah. But Sydney there was a time in Sydney where we were locked down quite heavily, and that was right when we were supposed to get married.
Wow. Okay. So that was 2 years ago. You guys have only been married a couple years.
Yep.
And how did you become the leader of a mission team? I mean, just like you're already in Sydney. It's a big city right there. Why did you decide, hey, I want to go plant a church?
So I don't know. I just wanted to plant a church. I wanted to do what we were doing before I became a Christian. I think when I went into the ministry, I was hanging around Mike Fontenot a lot, asking him a lot of questions, and just talking about, what the movement was doing before. And it seems like they were planting churches all the time. And I just thought that was the coolest thing. I was like, man, this is what I'm reading in the Bible. Like, right. People are just going places, they're planting churches, they're getting persecuted. Like, let's get back to that. Let's start doing that.
Exactly.
And that fired me up. So I kind of threw it out there with Mike, like, hey, let's do it. And then he talked about it with the evangelists and the elders in the Sydney church. And then I think we prayed about it for a year or 8 months or something. And then the place got decided. And then after that, we were chosen, or like we were told, like, hey, let's do it. You guys can go. So we were like, yeah, sweet.
Oh, okay. So when was it decided?
That we were going to plant a church or the play?
Well,
we were asked in February of 2022.
No, I think it was presented to the church. Let's pray for it. It was decided in Feb that we were going to plant a church.
Right.
Feb last year. And then the two cities that people were looking at was Canberra or Newcastle, because they both have similar populations and they're both a little bit out of Sydney. And then Newcastle got decided a few months after that. And then we got picked a few months after that.
Yeah.
Okay, so
And then we had
Newcastle. Where, for those who don't live in Australia, where's Newcastle?
So it's on the east coast, and it's north of Sydney and south of Brisbane.
About 2 hours drive north of Sydney, right
Okay.
on the coast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you, either one of you, from Newcastle?
No, we'd never been before.
No, yeah, I'd never visited Newcastle before before we got this opportunity. So the first time we went was when we were looking at houses to rent when we were moving here.
And okay, so how, like, what's the population of the city?
I think if you include like the surrounding suburbs, it's
Right.
maybe 400,000, something like that.
Okay, so pretty big area.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's plenty of sinners to convert there. Lots of people to
Yes.
reach. Okay, and it's got a beach.
It's got a few beaches. Yeah.
Okay, nice, really nice. Okay, I'm gonna have to come visit you. You know, at some point. I mean,
You should.
that's just sounds so romantic right there. Okay, how were you feeling, Brooke? Like, were you like, yeah, I'm really gung ho, or were you like, oh, I don't really want to do this? I mean, where were you at?
I'd never thought about it before, and one day Ben just says, "This is my dream," and I thought, oh my goodness. But I felt really inspired by that. And that's generally how our dynamic works, is Ben will have these crazy big ideas, and then he'll tell me, and I'll think, you know what? All right, let's do that. Let's go. And I think I remember thinking about it more, and I was reading through Acts, and I just saw the way that Paul went on his missionary journeys, and I thought, wow, like that's great. Like, that's really exciting. That's an adventure. And I thought, gosh, if I could be part of something like that, that would be amazing. So it was a dream that Ben kind of gave to me. I hadn't thought about it myself. And but then once it came time to think about the practicals of it all, I think part of me was nervous, but I think that being able to do it with Ben was great, because he's just so I don't know, he just has such a vision that I guess I just kind of can go along with it and sort of ride on his faith a little bit until I can catch up with my own. But no, it's been amazing since we've been here. So
that is, well, I just got to hand it to you. Your flexibility is pretty impressive. I mean, he sprung it on you after you got married or before you got married?
I think we were engaged at the time when I first heard about the dream.
No, we were married.
We were
for
married?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
It was too late to back out either way.
Right. Okay. That's great. So what kind of growth have you guys seen so far? Give us the overall picture. You just kind of give us an update on what's happened so far.
Okay. So we had a team of 14 from Sydney, and then one person come from Gold Coast. So it was 15 people was the team we started with. And then since then, we've baptized 11 people and restored someone. So we're at 27. And then I think someone's moving up here next week. So that'll be cool.
That is
So we'll be at 28
fantastic.
next week.
Okay. So you guys, your inaugural service was in February of this year, 2023?
Yeah.
Okay, that's amazing. 11 baptisms already. Okay, like look, before we dig into that, let's just back it up a little bit. For those who want to plant churches, how did you form the team? How did you get people to join you on the team?
So when I went to that August conference in America, I tried to like meet up with other people who had planted churches. And then I obviously grabbed you too. And I read your book. I read Acts. We fasted about it. We prayed a lot. And then Sydney's broken up into 4 regions. We led the West region in Sydney, and then we have an all-together service once a month where everyone comes together in Sydney. And then after that meeting, we would go into like this back room and invite whoever is thinking about going on the team to that room. And I'll do a bit of a charge, a bit of a lesson. And I would talk about the expectations and things to expect, things that, we're hoping for, we're praying for. And I copied one of the forms you sent me as well and just tweaked it a little bit. And yeah, then we started like meeting up with people and talking about the planting, and started assembling the team kind of like that. So we took a lot of people from the West region and then a few people from other regions. And then, we started meeting together, and we moved a little bit earlier, and I had Freeman with us. He lived with us for about 3 months.
Who's Freeman?
He's like our campus intern. He's like dude that got converted in the West. He's a great young fella. You'll meet him at the conference.
Okay. You mentioned him earlier. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about financing. How did you get funding for this planting?
So Sydney was just gonna pay the first year for it, and that was just raised through missions. And then I think two other churches in the Spa region have chipped in a little bit as well. So
yeah, the Sydney church was very generous with that. We do a yearly missions contribution, and so they said, "Oh, we're gonna dedicate this to planting a church."
That's awesome. So, do you know how much was raised?
Oh, I wish I did.
No, don't know.
I could get the figures on an email.
No, don't worry about it. The thing that impresses me, I really love Mike Fontenot. He's one of the first people I ever interviewed for the podcast. But I mean, it takes a lot of guts for an experienced church leader like Mike, and maybe someone else is in charge now, but to let go of a great couple. And you guys are a really young couple leading a region. So it's a big sacrifice. And it's one of the reasons why mission plantings don't happen, is because big churches need good leaders and they have the resources to pay for them. And so to let those good leaders go, it can be really tough. So I just got to hand it to the church leadership there to let you guys go. It's pretty awesome. It really needs to happen a lot more. Okay, so you guys had 11 baptisms already. You formed your team. Let's talk a little bit about the first 30 days. When you guys hit the beach there, what was that like?
So it's actually a very vivid memory for me. We arrived Saturday in November sometime. Then we had a service Sunday, and there was like maybe 50 people at the service because heaps of people from Sydney drove up to be a part of the first unofficial service, awesome. Right? So we were in a region of 100, so preaching a 50, it kind of felt normal, it felt nice. But the thing I remember the most was the second week, because no one's there for the second week unless you're on the team.
That's right.
And that was like, we had 50 the first week, then the second week it was like 12. It was like a Bible talk.
Right.
And that's when reality really hit us, and we were like, oh man, this is tough. And that was when we thought like, man, we got to get going. There's no more pats on the back. We're on the beach now, so to speak. And we just started sharing our faith a lot.
We just started sharing our faith almost every day. It was summer, so it was mostly on the beaches. We would just go to the beach, pray together, and then share every day. And and eventually we just started finding open people, and it just took it from there. But really it was just a matter of the team were amazing though. It was a matter of them being so fired up and zealous and persevering in their faith to just keep coming out hour after hour and inviting people along to this new church that we'd just started.
Okay, so that's right, because that's the summertime down under. Okay, in February, like, so it's hot. We're talking
very hot.
It's real hot, yeah.
Like 35, 40.
35, yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, like degrees Celsius, yeah.
Celsius, yeah. I'm trying to convert here.
Yeah, it gets up to around 40-ish, yeah.
Okay, that's really hot, but it's the beach, so that's okay.
That's it.
I just got to ask, Ben, are you a surfer at all? Like, do you get in the water?
Not surfing. I do a bit of spearing, bit of night diving,
Spearfishing.
We went out.
Okay.
We got lobsters last night. That was pretty good.
Oh, how about you, Brooke?
Not me, no. I've been spearfishing a few times. Ben's taken me out, but I'm definitely not a professional. But I love the beach.
Yes, of course. Okay, so since you've gotten there, what's been the most surprising aspect of planting a church? What's caught you by surprise that you weren't anticipating?
I think for me, I was very excited to come, but I was definitely preparing myself for a long, hard, challenging time. I think I was praying a lot about, praying that I could have perseverance, praying that I could just really have grit and stick it out. And those things were needed. It has been a real challenge, but I think what I wasn't expecting was for it to be so much fun. And I think just the way that all of the brothers and sisters on the team have become such a family, I was hoping for that, but really seeing it. And, because I grew up in Sydney, I've always been part of a bit of a bigger church. And then seeing this little group of 15 just become such a family and to have so much fun together. I think that kind of blew me away, just seeing how all these different men and women who didn't really know each other before suddenly just really form these deep friendships. And I think that has been such an encouragement to me. It's just how much fun it's been.
Wow.
Yeah. For me, something that was like surprising in like a good way was just to see the young boys, like that they wanted to just push their faith and do these crazy things. That one of them's like, yeah, let's do a 4-day fast. And then they all buy in, they're all jumping in, they're getting on board. But I'm usually the church leader's the one saying, let's do this stuff. But there's a lot of young guys just stepping up, wanting to do it themselves. And I think they're even going to do a Daniel fast or something in the next couple of weeks. So that's awesome. That's pretty awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. That's one thing I love about mission teams is there's so much passion. There's so much enthusiasm and idealism. It's just because really that's all you've got. You've got a lot of faith. You don't have the bells and whistles, so to speak, of a larger church. So it's all about relationships and faith in God. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. So anything else? What's inspired you so far? What has God done that's really built your faith?
You want to go first?
I think, and even, from what Ben was saying, I think something that's really inspired me has been to see, especially with the women, for them to start to have dreams that I don't think they otherwise would have really had the opportunity to have. So, Ben's been talking about Freeman, and Freeman's like his Timothy in the faith, and mine is a woman called Jean, and I didn't really know her before coming on this planting, but she came along and has just blossomed, and to see her faith grow so much, and to see her start dreaming for the ministry and dreaming for the kingdom, and I think that's just been such a faith building thing for me to see that when you have a small group. And as you say, without the bells and the whistles, there are so many holes to be filled. And then you see people just being able to step up and grow in ways that you never would have expected, and they never would have expected,
right.
to really fill those holes and to start, just really, having these great dreams for God and even for the ministry. And now we make fun of Freeman and Jean and we say, when are you planning a church?
That's
when are you going out? You know? So that's
awesome.
been great to see. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it's similar, just seeing these young people do these crazy things and jump on board. And, the young fellas and the girls, they all buy into whatever we're doing as a church. We've really pushed, like, hey, we're a family, we're a team, we need teamwork. And the boys are just, I drag them into the backyard. I got an ice bath there and chuck them in the ice bath, and they're all doing it.
Oh my gosh.
And like G'ing up, and just they're down to do whatever as long as it's for the sake of the kingdom, And I remember because we first got a house, it was quite hard to rent up here, and the boys have no rental history, so they're all struggling to get a place. So we had about 3 boys stay with us for
3 months.
Three
Oh my
months.
gosh.
I find out I'm pregnant about 2 weeks after arriving. We've got 3 campus brothers staying in our 1 bathroom house.
Yeah.
It was a wild time.
But like, I'm trying to get them out of the house to give Brooke some time to, so I'd take him to like the uni at 9 o'clock at night, would play basketball till like 11, and they're down to do whatever,
Right.
And
right.
that was really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go back to the ice baths. Were you inspired by Wim Hof? And
yeah.
He was.
Okay.
And I just wanted to see what it was all about. So I got a little freezer, freeze my own ice, and then got a bath and just jump in it.
You couldn't pay me to get in there. But he loved it.
Okay, so what's your record in ice? What's the longest time you've been in an ice bath?
Oh, I was doing like 15 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
Fine. But this is the thing, is it's hard to get it real cold. Like we can get it to 8 degrees Celsius. So yeah, but I don't know if I could do 15 minutes in 8 degrees. I don't know. We'll see.
That's so interesting. Okay. So
you do it?
No, hey, I'm lucky if I can just turn my shower on cold and just handle that, let alone an ice bath.
That's like me too.
So let's talk about what's been the most challenging thing you guys have faced. What's been the most difficult?
So when we were in the West region, and we had like an elder couple in our region, we had a few deacon couples, we had mature couples with us. And you kind of don't realize how much they do or how stable they make the church until you don't have someone like that. So I think, the church is quite young. Everyone's under 30.
Under 35.
Yeah. I think the oldest person who came up here was like 33 or something. Yeah. I don't know their age, but we are trying to study with whoever wants to study. So you sometimes get people who are a bit more mature, a bit older. And then here we are, these young couple that don't even have kids yet. And we're like, yeah, let's study, let's do it. So yeah, that's been a bit of a challenge, but we've had a lot of support from the Sydney church. They've been awesome in that way. Yeah.
I think for me, I think that the most challenging thing is to be a bit more isolated. I got, as Ben said, you get very comfortable in a bigger church with just so many people around to support you. There's always someone to come sharing with you. There's always someone to hang out with. There's always events going on, and to come to a new city, and especially when the whole team hadn't moved up yet, and it was just me and Ben and Freeman for many weeks. I think I felt a little isolated. And I think when I would, feel like I would just share my faith and reach out to so many people, and just feeling like I wasn't getting much of a response back. I think the loneliness was a challenge for me, and it really forced me to have a hard think about where I was getting my security from. Right. Because I think for me, I was really getting it from people, and I was forced to really rely on God a lot more and to rely on prayer a lot more, because it was just me in the shopping center.
Yeah, that's right.
So I had to, just really persevere for many weeks there. So I think that was the most challenging part for me.
Right. Yeah, that sounds really familiar. And, Brooke, I just got to hand it to you. I mean, pregnant, following your husband, and going on a mission team. You're right. The relationships are limited. They're not as many. And so you definitely don't have the support in a larger church, but I really appreciate your faith and your guts. What advice would you guys give to a person who wants to make this life count?
I would for sure say go on a planting, like plant a church. It's awesome. It's so faith building. It's so encouraging, and it's like needed. We need people who are going to throw their hand up and say, "Here I am, send me." Like I'm willing to go wherever. And I would say if you do it, don't have all these conditions about where you will and will not go. Don't be a conditional send me kind of person. Just be an all in kind of person. Because I'm hoping we really start moving with planting,
right?
Particularly in the Spa region. I think that's the plan. And I'm sure in America there's a lot of planting and stuff as well.
I think for me, I would encourage anyone who really wants to make a difference to not wait too long. I think I was in a place where I was, if anyone ever asked me, do you want to do great things for God? Of course I would say yes. But I was also kind of waiting for, I would say things like, I just want to pray for clarity. I just want to, I want God to open the doors and make it clear to me. And I don't know what I was expecting, like God would kind of come down out of the sky and say, now's the time to go. Because he's not going to do that. Right. I mean, he might, but he didn't for me. I think it was more just me being able to see an opportunity and say, let me just go for this.
Right.
And not be held back by fear of what could go wrong, or is everything going to fall into place perfectly? Right. I think for me, I found that no, things didn't fall into place perfectly, but I also didn't really need them to. It's been such an adventure because I just said yes and let God sort out the rest of it. And so that would be my advice, is to just go for things and not be too concerned trying to get all your ducks in a row to make it all fit right. perfectly into your idea of what a good or wise plan is.
Great advice, both of you guys. I just want to give you guys a great big hug over this distance. I just go, we need more people like you. I love the fact that you guys are in your 20s doing this, leading a team of young people, which really reminds me of so many of the plantings in the 80s and 90s. I mean, there was just so many people in their 20s planting churches. And I just go, man, you've got your whole life ahead to build a great church or plant other churches in the future. It's thrilling. It's really, really awesome what you're doing there. So all the best to you guys going forward. And thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to the program. Here's how you can help support the program. First of all, hit the subscribe button and let your friends know about it. Secondly, read and review one of my books, either How to Plant and Grow a Church or Courage, How to Make This Life Count. You can find those on Amazon.com. Because my goal is to inspire you to make this life count, to live a no regrets life, and multiply disciples, leaders, and churches. Have a great day and make this life count.